Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Valentina Michaels and I'm a travel specialist here at Global Base Camps. I hope that everyone listening in is safe and healthy during such unprecedented and scary times as Elise just said. While none of us can travel right now, it's given us time to reflect and reminisce, which is in part what inspired this new webinar series that we're hosting. We're going back to our roots, and that means sharing some of our favorite base camps around the globe, all sharing a similar ethic: unique, authentic, sustainable, community-based, and with an ethos of giving back, whether it be to local conservation efforts or the communities in which they are located, or both. It's a great opportunity for all of us at Global Base Camps to share some of our favorite travel experiences and favorite properties with you. Organizing stays in such incredible eco lodges, safari camps, and boutique hotels are an integral part of the highly customized adventures we love to create for our clients. As the world begins to open up again and we slowly resume travel, staying in remote and off the beaten path locales will be more appealing than ever. Today, I will be hosting our third webinar in the series, this time highlighting one of my favorite properties in the Galapagos, Galapagos Magic Camp. Galapagos Magic Camp is a perfect example of a remote and authentic eco-lodge invested in supporting the local community and protecting one of the Galapagos' most precious resources, the giant tortoise. So if everyone is ready, let's begin. Some of you may know that I can get a bit chatty when I'm excited about a destination, so I'm going to try my best to keep this presentation fairly brief to allow plenty of time for Q&A toward the end. Please feel free to submit questions at the bottom of the screen using the Q&A box, and I'll be happy to address these questions after the presentation. First off, here's a picture of me kayaking in the Galapagos with much shorter hair. Let me begin by giving you a bit of background on myself and how I ended up in the travel profession. Travel has always been in my blood, a gift from my father who traveled the world extensively throughout his career. In college, I studied for a time in Scotland and backpacked across Europe. I have my master's degree in international tourism administration from George Washington University, with a focus on ecotourism and sustainable development in Latin America. During the course of my studies back in the mid-90s, I attended a life-changing workshop on ecotourism and adventure travel and knew in my gut that this was my calling. I attended a conference in Belize on saving the mangroves, helped run an ecotourism conference in Venezuela, and finally landed an opportunity with Conservation International, living and working in northern Guatemala for several years. Since that time, my passion has been creating off the beaten path adventures for my clients throughout Latin America, Africa, and even Southeast Asia. For me, equally important to experiencing the flora and fauna of these breathtaking destinations in an ethical and sustainable way is the opportunity to experience the local culture authentically and organically, spending time with the locals, learning their history, and listening to their stories. Every island in the Galapagos has something different to offer. And while taking a cruise can be a great option, land-based touring and island hopping gives travelers the chance to not only experience the wildlife on the different islands, but life itself on the different islands. Each of the inhabited islands has a special feel and its own culture, while the uninhabited islands make for great day visits. Trying our island hopping adventure programs, you get to know the islands in a different, more intimate way. In fact, 65% of Galapagos travel is now land-based, with tremendous diversity of accommodation and activities available. The dynamic is similar to Galapagos cruising in that you have scheduled activities every day. But with land-based, there is a great deal more flexibility, especially with customized touring, and that you can be as busy or as laid back as you like. Local entrepreneurs, artisans, guides, restaurants, hotels, and transportation companies all benefit from land-based Galapagos touring, and the ripple effect is positive and widespread. This is why I precisely love island hopping in the Galapagos more so than cruising, and why I fell in love with Galapagos Magic during a work trip in May of 2017, and why I can't wait to go back. Although I have traveled to almost every country throughout Central and South America, this was actually my first time in the Galapagos. Galapagos Magic Camp is located on Santa Cruz Island in the Galapagos and is one of the more popular inhabited islands to visit. Many people think of the Galapagos as a complex array of uninhabited islands with endemic flora and fauna not found anywhere else in the world. And this is partly true, But they don't realize that there are 4 inhabited islands: Santa Cruz, Isabela, Floriana, and San Cristobal, where inhabitants have lived for generations. Santa Cruz has a population of approximately 12,000 and is known for its beautiful sandy beaches and highlands. The bustling town of Puerto Ayora is the archipelago's tourism hub, full of shops, restaurants, and bars, and all the comforts you would expect from a small island town. Santa Cruz is also home to one of 2 airports in the Galapagos Islands located in Baltra, right up here. The main airport is in San Cristobal. There's also a smaller airport in Isabela for those that wish to fly between the islands rather than take the motorized boat transfers. On Santa Cruz is also located the famous Charles Darwin Research Station, which has a breeding program for endangered giant tortoises, which live wild in El Chato Reserve. Tortuga Bay attracts sea turtles and marine iguanas and is ideal for snorkeling. And Los Gemelos, volcanic calderas, and a lava tunnel lie inland, waiting to be explored with your guide. Galapagos Magic, located high in the Santa Cruz Highlands, allows you to experience the real Galapagos, away from the bustle of the port city. You'll enjoy stunning views, along with the chance to be totally immersed in nature. They have a variety of lodging styles to meet every traveler's needs, from safari-style tents to tree houses, and coming soon are villas and suites. Additionally, Galapagos Magic has always been on the forefront of the effort to protect the giant tortoises. The 40 hectares of Galapagos Magic Reserve in the Santa Cruz Highlands have been home to giant tortoises for nearly a decade. The tortoises prefer to live in the highlands of Santa Cruz. They only go down into the national park to nest at specific times of the year. In season, the reserve is home to more than 100 Galapagos tortoises that are free to roam unhampered and unthreatened, a delight for many of the visitors to the camp and its reserve. There are, however, resident tortoises year-round, especially the older ones. However, the highest number of tortoises are visible between July and October. So how to get to the Galapagos? Well, first you're going to fly over from North America to either Quito or Guayaquil on the mainland. Because the flights tend to arrive late in the afternoon or in the evening, it is necessary to overnight on the mainland. This is a great opportunity to explore the mainland while you're there for several days. There's so much to see and do, from the Andes to the tropics to the cloud forest, the Amazon, just a tremendous amount of culture and history and exploration to be done. Or otherwise, if you're in a rush to get right over to the Galapagos to begin your adventure as soon as possible, it's easy to overnight near either of the airports to depart on your flight early the next morning. At this time, you'll also have to purchase your Ngala tourist card, which is only $20 per person. So from Quito, your flight is going to first stop down in Guayaquil, where you're going to drop off some passengers and pick up additional passengers for the Galapagos. That flying time is only about half an hour. From Guayaquil, it's then only another hour and a half to the Galapagos. So your total flying time is only about 2 hours. Not so bad at all. Upon arrival into Baltra, you're met by your private guide and escorted to the VIP lounge. So this is what the airstrip looks like at Baltra. This is how you first arrive into the airport. And the great part about having the VIP lounge, which is something special that we do for all of our guests, is that in the main part of Baltra Airport, you have it can be a bit chaotic, and there's just so many tourists and tourism groups and student groups, and the lines can be incredibly long. And so when you're in this VIP area, it's basically an area all to yourselves. You can enjoy refreshments, you receive a briefing on the days to come from your guide, you put on your sunscreen, and you change into your swim gear. And more about that soon. Also important to know that on arrival, you will need to pay the Galapagos National Park entrance fee, which is $100 per person for adults and $50 for children under 12. From there, you take a shuttle transfer by land to the Itabaca Channel. So here's Baltra, here's Santa Cruz, and this red area right here is the Itabaca Channel. Now, typically, most passengers will take a ferry across the channel over to Santa Cruz and then begin their land transfer from there. But as many of you already know, we like to do things a bit differently here at Global Base Camps. And so your adventure begins the second you arrive to the Itabaca Channel. So that's the ferry that most people take over to mainland Santa Cruz. This is how we pick you up. And this is how we begin the adventure with you. The Itabaca Channel flows between Baltra and Santa Cruz. They face each other, as you saw in the previous slide. And there's no better introduction to the Galapagos than to immediately get on the water upon your arrival. You'll have a chance to kayak, snorkel, and stand-up paddleboard through the turquoise waters of the Itabaca Channel, gliding through beautiful red mangrove forests and across lava rock cliffs. Along the way, you will see some of the famous Galapagos wildlife, such as blue-footed boobies, sea lions, brown pelicans, frigate birds, a variety of herons, and white-tipped reef sharks. The provided ocean kayaks, which are sit-on-top kayaks, come in doubles or singles, and life jackets are insisted upon. Every traveler is also assigned their own mask and snorkel for the duration of your Galapagos adventure. A support boat, which is that, will escort you throughout the water activities to ensure safety and to provide water, snacks, and towels in between activities. And of course, if you don't want to get in the water just yet, you can certainly enjoy your surroundings while staying on the boat. After a couple of hours exploring the Itabaca Channel, you'll arrive at the dock where you will be met by your waiting vehicle and head up to the Santa Cruz Islands and your new home, Galapagos Magic Camp. Galapagos Magic Camp is perched high on a hillside overlooking the ocean, and driving time to get there from the pier is about 30 minutes. Here's an example of a vehicle used for a larger group, but the vehicle size is dependent upon the number of people that are going to be arriving and staying with your guide throughout your stay at Galapagos Magic. And once parked, it's just a short walk, as you can see here, just past the grove of trees, and then Galapagos Magic Camp is on the other side. Galapagos Magic is literally that. It's magic. Here, the sounds of nature will serenade you into the evenings, and the Milky Way will be your nightlight, overlooking the Pacific Ocean, as you can see out there. Take in the mountains and the forests surrounding the camp, and watch the colorful sunset from Magic's western perch. Dinners in the main lodge are sumptuous three-course affairs prepared by expert chefs in an open-air kitchen. You may even be taught how to make a real caipirinha. A favorite post-dinner activity is a short walk to the reserve's natural lava tubes, where you can enjoy a nightcap in the one-of-a-kind lava lounge bar. More on that a bit later. If you're lucky, you may even have the opportunity to enjoy your meals with owner Polo, as he shares stories of life on the islands and his own personal history with the Galapagos. Galapagos Magic is Polo's Highland retreat, and you will immediately understand why he loves his mountain, his giant tortoises, and Santa Cruz Island so much. Polo was one of the first people to guide visitors around the Galapagos years and years ago on his sailboat. If you're lucky enough, you will sit by the fire listening to his tales of adventure long into the night. So now I'll talk a bit about the hotel facilities. There are 6 raised safari tents. Each tent is exactly the same, with 2 twin beds, stunning views of the sea and neighboring islands, private verandas, ensuite bathrooms, which are back behind that doorway, with running hot and cold water. My first night, and I've traveled extensively throughout Africa and been on safari many times and used to the sounds of wild animals waking me up in the middle of the night. But my first night at Galapagos Safari Camp was a bit unusual in that I woke up to the sound of this low kind of grumbling and rumbling and snoring sound. And I looked over at my travel companion, and she was peacefully sleeping and not snoring. And I couldn't imagine what that sound was until the following morning when I woke up at sunrise, went outside of my tent, looked underneath, and saw this. Just kind of another perk at staying Galapagos Safari Camp. The giant tortoises like to nest underneath the safari tents, and who knew that they snore when they sleep at night. There are also 4 safari treehouses. These rustic treehouses sit above the migration paths of the giant tortoises. Each treehouse has 2 twin beds, a sink, and a flush toilet. They do not, however, have showers, but there are shared showers located outside of the treehouses. The safari treehouses are great. They offer a real connection with nature. They're really fun for families with small children. And they're also a more economical way to experience Galapagos Magic Camp for those that wish to invest a little bit more of their funds toward the excursions and the activities available. The suites and the villas are coming soon. They will have beautiful forest views, interconnected rooms. They're very private and they're perfect for families and VIPs. In addition to the various accommodation options, we have Magic Restaurant, where a delicious buffet breakfast is served in the main restaurant and dinner is prepared there as well by professional chefs. A variety of meal preferences and special requests are easily accommodated by the kitchen in advance. And I have to tell you, it's so lovely sitting at one of these tables early in the morning, sipping your coffee and seeing the tortoises roaming about the grounds. Really, again, there's nothing like it. Back here, you can see a fireplace where everyone gathers in the mornings and afternoons and in between excursions, and some other sitting areas as well. Outside of the restaurant over here in the trees, the grove of trees, there are also multiple hammocks, which is a great way to relax a little bit and decompress in the afternoon after a morning full of exciting excursions in the Galapagos. The Meadow Deck is another special spot in the Galapagos Magic Wildlife Sanctuary. Here you can perform your sun salutations overlooking the sea. You can gather for a caipirinha and an interpretive wildlife discussion, as you see going on right here with this group and their guide. Or you can gaze at the incredible night skies from this breathtaking vantage point. As I think you can see, the sunsets are truly spectacular at Galapagos Magic Camp. And lastly, the Lava Lounge. As I mentioned, there are lava tubes on the property. And so when you're walking along the trails, all of a sudden you can't see them from above as you're walking. But as you round the bend, you notice kind of this hole in the ground and these steps going down, and it's like a cave underneath. A favorite post-dinner activity is a short walk to the natural lava tubes for a nightcap in the one-of-a-kind lava lounge. It's a perfect spot to relax around the fire and share stories from the day's adventures. You can also pre-arrange special meals there with your group or individuals as well. You just need to know ahead of time. So when to visit the Galapagos? The Galapagos Islands are the perfect year-round adventure destination. Thanks to the Galapagos Islands location close to the equator, air and water temperatures remain relatively stable all year long. During the peak tourist season, which runs from mid-June through early September and mid-December through mid-January, you should plan your trip well in advance to avoid availability issues. There are two seasons in the Galapagos: the cool and dry winter, which goes from June through November into early December, and the warm, wet, and windy summer, which goes from December through May and June. The warmer summer season tends to be the most popular, as the seas are calmer and warmer. On average, the water is about 76 degrees Fahrenheit. The air temperatures are in the low 70s to mid 80s, and underwater visibility is good, and the showers are short, and actually a nice respite from the heat. The cooler months of June through November provide a respite from the intense heat, with colder water temperatures, on average about 72 degrees, and slightly cooler land temperatures from the mid-60s to the high 70s. So at this time of year, we of course recommend wearing light layers, so that, with your backpack, so that you can take off a jacket or an over sweater or a sweatshirt throughout the day as it gets hotter. If the water feels too cool for you at the beginning of your journey at the Galapagos in Puerto Ayora, you also have the opportunity to rent a wetsuit for the duration of your time in the Galapagos. Most visitors will stay at least 3 to 4 nights on Santa Cruz at Galapagos Magic Camp. There's so much to do in the Galapagos, and there are many choices from your base in Santa Cruz. These are a few of my favorite activities, and oftentimes you can fit 2 activities into any single day. And everything, almost everything, includes time for kayaking and snorkeling. You can discover Puerto Ayora, you can visit the Charles Darwin Research Station, enjoy a yacht tour of uninhabited neighboring islands, which I'll detail a bit more in a minute, explore Tortuga Bay, a motor yacht day with a local, an island exploration with a local, kayaking, hiking to Cerro Mesa, Garapatero Beach. You can visit an organic coffee farm and sugarcane mill and have the opportunity to taste the sugarcane liqueur, enjoy a wooden workshop, go diving if you're PADI certified, There are several full-day diving trips that you can do from your base in Santa Cruz. You can enjoy self-guided touring for those that prefer to have their schedule a little bit looser and more flexible. And you can also do island hopping. Regarding the Navigable Day Tours. So you can enjoy a full day excursion to a nearby uninhabited island to view wildlife and explore. And that's an example of the type of boat that you would be in for this day tour. Depending on the weather, national park regulations, and day of the week, remote islands that you may visit include North Seymour and Bacchus, South Plazas, Santa Fe Island, Bartolome, and Sullivan Bay. Along the way, you may see leaping rays or other sea life while enjoying the vastness of the Pacific. The yacht tour lets you see the islands and their wildlife in their most pristine state. Following your island land exploration, you will enjoy time for snorkeling. If you're lucky, you may even be swimming with playful sea lions, penguins darting through the water like bullets, sea turtles, rays, pufferfish, and even harmless sharks. Transfer times vary to the different islands, depending on which islands you are visiting, but generally it's anywhere from 1 to 2 hours in each direction. Activities on the various islands also range in levels of difficulty, so it's important for us to know your activity level in order to organize activities appropriately. Most of the yacht tours begin around 7 a.m. and return back to Santa Cruz between 3 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, importantly, I'm sure many of you are curious to know about pricing in the Galapagos for a stay on Santa Cruz and Galapagos Magic. So first off, the flights from the mainland to the Galapagos are round trip between $570 and $590 per person. The packages available vary based on the number of nights and islands visited and the activities that you're looking to include, how busy, how laid back, how structured you wish to be. So for example, in Santa Cruz, if you're there for 3 days and 2 nights, you're looking at a starting price of just under $1,600 per person. Again, these are land-only prices and not including the Galapagos flights. If you extend your stay for 3 nights, you're looking at just under $2,000 per person. For 4 nights, which is a great amount of time to stay because you can have 3 full days of activities, you're looking at just over $2,000 per person. If you wish to island hop and combine 2 islands, Santa Cruz and Isabela, for say 5 days and 4 nights, you're looking at around $3,400 per person. And if you do what my favorite thing to do in the Galapagos is explore Santa Cruz, Isabela, and Floriana for a week or more, you're looking at starting at around $6,200 per person. The pricing includes the airport VIP service, your round trip transfers from Baltra, all of your meals, accommodations, all of your transfers on the island and between the islands if you're doing island hopping, and all of your full or half day excursions. And again, as pretty much everything that we do is highly customized, we come up with a combination of islands or activities that are perfect for you, your traveling companions, and your activity level. Lastly, I also wanted to mention that several times throughout the year, we do have some set group departures to explore, do island hopping in the Galapagos as well, with only a maximum of 12 people. These packages don't necessarily have the flexibility that the customized packages do, but for a 4-day program for Santa Cruz, for example, you're looking at a starting price of only about $1,500 per person. Lastly, before opening things up to Q&A, I wanted to discuss for a minute the Galapagos Magic Forest Initiative. The Galapagos giant tortoises were on the brink of extinction up until only a few years ago. And while their numbers have fortunately increased due to both individual and organizational efforts, they are still considered an endangered species. Enter Galapagos Magic and Polo. Galapagos Magic is proud to announce their new Galapagos Forest Initiative. This project dedicates 12 hectares of the Magic Reserve for habitat restoration and improvements in the welfare of the tortoises, including planting 48,000 endemic escalacia trees. Tourism will be the driving force behind this new conservation project. A $5 per bed conservation fee will help fund the habitat restoration, reforestation, and maintenance of this new forest and tortoise habitat, And for those that are perhaps staying down near the pier in Puerto Ayora or visiting on a day trip from a cruise, they can also visit the project, and there'll be a $10 entrance fee for day visitors. So I think at this point that about sums up my visit to the Galapagos, my stay at Galapagos Magic Camp, and a bit about all of the activities that you can enjoy when you're there. And at this point, I would like to open it up to your questions. Okay. Elizabeth asks if there are lots of mosquitoes and bugs, and what's the altitude? So yes, there are mosquitoes. They tend to be more mosquitoes in the rainier season, and certain islands and locations seems to have more mosquitoes than others, but you do definitely want to take your mosquito repellent with you. Malaria isn't really an issue in the Galapagos. I have had dengue in the past, and so that's a big concern for me, and I did not have to take any malaria medication when I was in the Galapagos. Most of the islands are on sea level, because Elizabeth also asked about the altitude. However, some of the excursions do go up higher in altitude. It really depends on where you're going and what you're doing. If you're hiking up, for example, to the top of a volcanic crater, you could be at several thousand feet above sea level. But again, most of the activities and the islands are all at sea level. Allison asked if this is a good trip to do with young children. It's a great trip to do with young children. The Galapagos, the activities can be geared toward the ages of the children. There's, the time in the water with the swimming and the snorkeling and the kayaking is a huge highlight. The opportunities to see all of the Galapagos wildlife up close is exciting. You're snorkeling literally with sea lions and penguins and sea turtles swimming all around you, yet you're completely safe with nothing to worry about. There's a lot of hiking and easy hiking that you can do, and going into town and meeting all of the locals. It's really a phenomenal experience for the entire family. The best time to see the tortoises. As I mentioned, the tortoises are there year round. And they tend to be, the most tortoises tend to be in Magic between July and October. But again, especially the older ones tend to stay, they don't really, I think, feel like making the hike down into the national park for mating season. So they stay on the grounds all year round. You won't go there without seeing tortoises. And then also when you're in the Charles Darwin Research Station, there are breeding programs. So there are many, many, many tortoises in residence there. And the breeding programs are especially fun for kids because they're grouped in areas based on their ages. And so there are tortoise nurseries with the teeny tiny baby tortoises, and they're divided based on age in different areas. And so you can see the progression of their growth as well, because they live to be such an old age. Delia asked, what is the youngest age that's recommended? Galapagos Magic doesn't really recommend children under 12. So I think 12 and up is good. But if you have younger children that are perhaps, adventurous and traveled, special arrangements could be made. Are there still limits as to how many people can visit each island each day? Sharon asked. Yes, there are. And that's why certain excursions are dependent, especially the motorized yacht tours, and all of the excursions really are highly regulated by the government. And so there are only specific places that you can visit on certain days of the week, et cetera. And the numbers of tourists that can visit as well is regulated. Is there a reason why you would opt to do a land-based island trip versus a cruise, or is it possible to do both? It is possible to do both. In fact, we have many clients that wish to have both types of experiences. And so you can spend, say, 3 or 4 nights on a cruise. With the cruises, you do get to see the farther outlying islands that aren't accessible when you're doing an island hopping itinerary. So you can venture out much farther out to the islands that there would be no other way to see otherwise. And then you can come back and do island hopping for several days or a week, staying at one island or maybe two or even three. The island hopping tends to be a bit more laid back. You're not on as rigid of a schedule. You're with your own private guide, so you're not having to adhere to to being with a group as you would on a boat going out on a cruise, going out and doing the excursions. So for those that are looking to have those two experiences that balance each other, you can easily do both. If why would you opt to do a land-based island trip versus a cruise? Well, several reasons. Island hopping, again, you don't have to follow such a strict schedule. So you're able to customize your adventure. You're able to decide which places you want to visit, how active you want to be, the types of activities that you want to have. People that are really into snorkeling can spend a lot of their time snorkeling or kayaking. You wouldn't have that opportunity on a cruise. Again, with families, with children, island hopping is great because you're not in such a confined space. You can go into town, you can explore on your own, you can spend a day on the beach. There's a lot more opportunities available for you when you're on a land-based island hopping trip, much less restrictive. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, certainly you can email me if you think of anything after we close this out. And I will be happy to answer you right away. Certainly we can begin talking about traveling, hopefully in the near future again. I want to thank you all for listening to me and spending your afternoon with us, and hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, Val. That was awesome. And thanks to everyone that tuned in today. We really appreciate you guys continuing to support and connect with us throughout these crazy times. Hopefully this gave you a little escape from your day, even if it was just virtual. As Val said, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to her. You'll see that her email is on the screen, as well as I'll be sending out a recording tomorrow, and I'll attach your email as well as the Galapagos tour page that you'll also see listed. If you're interested in tuning into our next webinar, it will be in 2 weeks on Thursday, May 28th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and our Japan travel specialist, Laura Hagler, will be diving in what it's like to stay at a traditional Japanese guest house. So watch your inboxes for the registration link, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and thanks for tuning in.